Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another episode. Sadly, the last review and breakdown episode for Ahsoka Season 1, and I'm choosing my words carefully here. After watching Episode 8, I believe that this was simply the first season of a longer show. And I mean, even on Disney Plus, it says the Season 1 finale. There's got to be more coming. So I'm going to give my full breakdown, my thoughts. There will be full spoilers. So if you for some reason clicked on this video without watching Episode 8, well, I'm going to spoil things. Kind of some general impressions though. There were some things that this episode did well, and there were a couple of things that it didn't do well. Overall, plot-wise, I thought it was all pretty great. It's what I expected to happen. I really wish we would have gotten maybe a little more clarity on Baylan's adventure, especially given the fact that Ray Stevenson is dead, but Thrawn won, as he should. He's returned to the galaxy and he's ready to bop the New Republic straight in the nose. I love him just trying to get a rise out of Ahsoka as he jumps to another galaxy straight in her face. That's hilarious. The real weakness in this episode was, put simply, the action scenes, the in-between moments. Like, they're riding through the field, every turbo laser's just missing them. All right. They get inside the temple and they're kind of just standing there in front of a legion of stormtroopers. It wasn't quite like Kenobi bad, but it wasn't great, especially where the lightsabers, like, you're fighting zombies at this point. You had the opportunity to do a bit more limb cutting off at least, or a bit more interesting damage, but kind of just fighting the same enemy over and over and over again without the heroes ever really feeling like they were in threat. The one action I did like, or the one action scene I liked rather, was the fight between Morgan Elsbeth and Ahsoka. I feel like I'm in the minority here, but I've thought the choreography throughout the show has been great. For the lightsaber battles at least, like the Baylan versus Ahsoka battle, their first one anyway, probably my favorite live action lightsaber battle of the Disney era, just because of how different their fighting styles were and how interesting it was to see them combine and go against each other. I wasn't sad to see the end of Morgan Elsbeth's character, but I wasn't happy either. I thought she was really interesting. She was so devoted to the cause, to Dathomir, to returning Thrawn to the galaxy, and Thrawn basically disposes of her. He sees her as another asset towards his greater plan, and I thought that was very appropriate for the Grand Admiral. Overall, I'm very happy with Thrawn's portrayal so far. Like, everything he's attempted to do, he's pretty much succeeded at, and in a meaningful way. I'm curious now about how he's going to wage a proper war against the New Republic. I will say, I can't help but feel a little disappointed in Peridea, just generally. Like, arguably the last two episodes were the weakest of the season. Not bad, certainly, but I pretty much loved every other episode. The last one was okay. This one I thought was good to great. But I would have liked to see a bit more of the strangeness of Peridea. I would have liked if the Great Mothers, for example, were just a little bit different compared to the Night Witches that we had back in the Star Wars galaxy. But again, I think Thrawn's interaction with them, as well as Captain Enoch, was pretty great. I will say, the action scenes I discussed earlier, I think they did somewhat make the Night Troopers' previous appearance a little bit better. Like, a lot of us were wondering, well, what's the point of these Night Troopers? They get their asses kicked in Episode 7 just like regular stormtroopers. Well, I'm guessing that their reanimation in this episode is not the first time they returned from the dead. I think these were already reanimated troopers, and that each time they die, they get a little less effective. But I mean, they still have their obvious usefulness, as they almost overwhelmed Ahsoka during her battle. Obviously, the Death Troopers were really cool as well. I like that we got to see the sort of chin of one, very much like the zombies from the Clone Wars. But now we have Legends Death Troopers and the canon Death Troopers, so that's nice. Moving on, I like that Ezra didn't waste time when it came to rebuilding his lightsaber. Like, he's always been a very pragmatic person, especially with his lightsaber. I mean, his first one had a friggin' blaster in it. Obviously, you know, honoring his master's heritage was a nice touch, and I do really like the themes of master and apprentice, which have been developing throughout the entire season, but of course today in the finale. Just the character of Hu Yang as well generally was a real high spot for me. I think that some of the shenanigans involving the ship were sometimes a little silly. Like, there was a lot of extraneous action which just generally could have been cut out in this episode, with that time being better served following Shin Shin and Baylan, and it feels like that's also true of episode 7. But back to Ezra, the casting is perfect. He's probably my favorite live action counterpart to a character's animated version. He just captures the essence of Ezra so well. Plus the fact he literally looks like he's designed to look like the animated character, just a few years older. One thing I didn't think was very accurate was the size of those turbo laser bolts. Turbo lasers are massive weapons capable of like disintegrating starships. What are these little weak puffy explosions? Like, I know they were the ship's underside lasers, probably less powerful than the big guns on top, but still, we had the same thing in Star Wars Rebel in the Bendu episode, in the Lothal episodes where Thrawn is bombarding things. Not really super pleased that the portrayal was so close in live action. I think it would have been better for Thrawn not to bomb the good guys as they're running to the temple than to show the extreme power at the very end as he just completely wipes it off the map. But let's talk about the state of the universe moving forward. Thrawn is back to the galaxy and he's got the secret warehouse from the Indiana Jones series. Why he's returning to Dathomir, I'm not quite sure. I'm guessing that the Great Mothers are going to lead him to some other artifacts. I gotta say, I was really hoping we'd see him just reconvene with a massive Imperial fleet. I think that would have been a cool way to end the show, but this was cool as well. Although it was maybe a little silly, I'm glad they didn't waste time with Ezra on the ISD and that he's back with Hera as well. But like, why not have a hug there at the end? Like, if you've watched Star Wars Rebels, you'll know that despite their, I don't want to call it minor, but it's not huge age different, Hera is essentially a mother for Ezra. I would have liked to see just a bit more love between the two. But let's talk about Baylan. I was really hoping we'd spend more time with him this episode, obviously because it was Ray Stevenson's final performance as the character. They're going to have to recast him. Like, there's no real other option. They will need to recast him. And I just gotta say, I don't envy the people involved with that decision whatsoever. I remember thinking the same thing after Carrie Fisher died. The writers here, casting directors, it's not an easy job, because he nailed the character, and realistically, whoever comes next is going to be held to that standard, and they might not meet it. But what's going on with him? Well, he's obviously standing on a statue of the father of the ones, next to statues of the brother and also the sister, although she has her head knocked off. This reminded me a lot of the script for Colin Trevorrow's episode 9, where they traveled to the Mortis planet. There's even a kind of a shot of the mountains like that. Hopefully I can find it, but we still don't really know what's going on. But it's very Star Wars Rebels. It's very Clone Wars. Speaking of, I'm also very happy that Ahsoka saw not only Anakin. I thought that was appropriate and very uplifting in what was otherwise a pretty downer ending for her, but also Morai, the little owl. Some supernatural stuff going on there, considering it made its way to another galaxy. But those are my thoughts on the episode. I'll probably be doing more detailed videos on specific aspects, but let me know your thoughts down below. See you guys soon. Oh, actually, Sabine's Force stuff. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It is what it is. The jump, it looked goofy, but yeah.